So my name is Monique Mo Corker. I use the pronouns she and her, and I'm the External Affairs Market Manager with Comerica Bank. I have to give a moment. They don't get mad at me probably, but I have to acknowledge my senior leadership who flew here all the way from Texas. We have Ms. Vanessa Reed, which is the National External Affairs Market Manager. Chief Community Officer in the back, Mr. Ashford Jr. Comerica Bank could not support organizations without the support of our senior leadership, so I just have to give them a kudos. So on behalf of the bank, we provide resources to nonprofits. I see some of my nonprofit partners in here, and we also like to provide education, not just from the money aspect. We want to provide human capital, and that's what this discussion is all about, in my opinion. So I'm gonna share. I grew up in a time where I was constantly told, stay in a child's place. This is an adult conversation, but yet here we are discussing how to get youth more committed. Right. So I think we need to first think about some of those old sayings before we even get into these discussions, because we gotta wipe some of that out today. So I'm going to briefly introduce our panelists because I'm gonna allow them to kind of give a little bit more background on themselves. First on our panel, we have Dr. Ciara Bostick. Dr. Bostick. Okay. Dr. Bostick, who, as most of us, wear many hats, but it is important to know that she not only founded God's Gift Incorporated, but she is also the neighborhood specialist for the Broward Sheriff's Office. How many of you all knew we had a neighborhood specialist? Wow. See, I did not know, so we're gonna learn a lot today. Her dissertation was a structural model for African-American female adolescents through self-esteem and leadership. Now, next we have on our panel is Ella Batista-Delcorto. Her personal pronouns are she and her. She is the director of the community engagement at the Allapattah Collaborative, CDC. And based on her LinkedIn profile, she is a community engagement professional with over 20 years of experience in the media industry. She is a creative storyteller, I'm ready to hear, experienced in public relations, strategic communications, and so much more. And I have to give you kudos because you're also a fellow alumni from FIU Go Panthers. Last but not definitely least is my young, beautiful queen, who I am personally a big cheerleader for. Her name is Huguette St. Hubert. She has served as a Junior Achievement Student Ambassador. She has been awarded a number of accolades. She attends a number of educational workshops and is just what a strong representation of what youth commitment and engagement looks like. She is currently attending FAU on a scholarship and is also an intern at South Florida Tech Hub. Now, we have one more guest, because I know y'all probably looking like, well, where's the guy? We didn't do that, okay? We did invite some fellas, all right? So our one young man who was not able to make it because he is a mover and shaker himself, his name was Chad Jordan. He is definitely committed to youth. He is making big moves. He is setting the stage for other youth as it relates to community engagement from a youth perspective. He's a young man of action. His love and desire to be a change agent for his community has helped him be an excellent role model. So all of those people I just named, I please do encourage you to pull up your phones again, like I said, and make sure you're following them and support them on LinkedIn. So here's some quick housekeeping rules so we can get the best out of the time. We will have a brief Q&A towards the end of the discussion. We want to have everyone, as involved. Cornell has reminded me and our panel on a number of occasions, there is no red tape. We have to be real and transparent to discuss the things that need to be discussed as we're benefiting our youth. So I'm going to start in the order that we did the introductions. And can each of you tell me just a little bit about your personal story and why you are passionate about youth in the community?
Well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Dr. Ciara Bostick, the president and founder of God's Gift, which is a nonprofit for girls in South Florida, ages 7 through 17, where we focus on confidence, leadership, faith, and self-worth. And those 4 values make up my story. That's why I founded my organization on those 4 principles, because if it was not for those principles, there would be no me, there would be no this. I wouldn't even be here. So when it came to who I am based on those principles, that's why, like Coach Bo said, that is why my dissertation dealt with African American girls and minority girls. That's why my dissertation focused on adolescent girls. That's why my dissertation focused on self-esteem, and that's why I focused on leadership. Those four key points made who I was at the age of 13 for me to sit here at the age of 34 and have conversations and discussions with you all. If it was not for what I went through at adolescent, if it not for me being a minority young lady, if it was not for me going through that tumultuous time as an adolescent girl trying to figure out who I was, if it was not for my self-esteem had to be built up from a 13-year-old girl, there would never be a leadership aspect of me. There would never be this panel. So that made me. What happened at the age of 13, when I went through a slight depression due to body changes and physical things that women go through, men go through it differently, but how women go through it in our approach with that, I wanted to end it all at 13. But I literally stood in the mirror when I was getting ready to end it all at the age of 13, and something just hit me and was like, there's more to do. And I'll never forget those words. Something hit me saying that there's more to do. So once I heard that, it was nonstop. The personality came, the joy came, and I've always been spunky like this since 13, since y'all know me. Since 13, that's where all this came from. But prior to the age of 13, it wasn't there. So I realized that if it wasn't for me going through what I went through, building up my self-esteem to get to a certain point, the leadership skills that I have, the values that I have, the morals that I have will never be there. So I always value to go back and teach young girls, especially my adolescent babies, between the ages of 17, listen, you can do it. Don't give up. I know you may look different from your counterpart. You may be in foster care. You may have a guardian instead of a parent. Grandma might have raised you, or whatever your circumstance might be. Don't stop there, but keep going. That same voice that was given to me, I pledge to be that same voice for them.
Hi, I'm Batista-Delcorto. I'm the Director of Community Outreach for the Allapattah Collaborative. My story is kind of interesting. Raised in South Florida, went into media. I was a journalist for almost 20 years, writer and editor. But I always tended to go towards community. Community news, I thought, made the biggest impact in what was going on locally in the city, in the commission. One of the things that I ended up doing while I was working was I took it upon myself to mentor younger reporters of color, women. For some, to help them find mentors, like I was able to find the few and to help me. And so once I left communications, I realized that I wanted to give back to the community a little bit more. And that's how I connected with the Allapattah Collaborative. Last year, we launched the Allapattah Community Fellows Program. And it's this 12-week in-depth fellowship for kids in the Allapattah neighborhood of Miami. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Allapattah, and it's one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city of Miami. It's also one of the neighborhoods that suffered most greatly from disinvestment. But the kids in that community inspire me. And I'm gonna say one of the kids is actually here. I'm not calling kids, but they're not kids, they're young adults. The program is geared for 17 to 25 years. And it takes them through 12 weeks of learning about the community, history, the ups and downs, the issues that are facing them. If you want to have like your faith, like restored in the future you hold, you had to hang out with those kids for 12 weeks. I got kids. I'm not supposed to call you kids. I know. Because they approach things differently and they wanted to make a change. But they're like, what can we do? They arrive in the program saying, what can we do? And then you see them just go tackle an issue that you're like, you're young, this is not something you're supposed to be worrying about. And that's why I do it, because you see, like, it's like restoring your faith. The youth, like, oh, the youth don't care, they don't care about themselves. Like, no. The young adults in our community, like, inspire me to do more and do better. And so that's why I do now what I do, because I want to help them keep finding their way into a sense of advocacy, of commitment to their community, because that's what the program is designed for. Who better to advocate for your neighborhood than yourself? And these young adults want to be able to help their neighborhood, preserve culture, preserve those centers that they grew up with, parks, libraries, help reduce crime, things that us as adults are the ones we're supposed to be taking care of. But they're like, well, if we don't start doing something about it now, no one's gonna do it. So again, that's how I came into, involvement, and I'm so happy to be part of it.
Hi, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? Right, perfect. My name is Huguette Hubert. I am a sophomore by credits, but a first-year student at FAU, studying health sciences. My goal is to become a physician assistant in the next few years. So why am I here today? I'm going to share my personal story. At the age of 13, I came to the US and I did not speak a word of English. And I'm now 18 years old. It was very hard because I had to leave my mother in Haiti to come to the US, and she has been my greatest motivator at all times. And coming here to the US, I knew I needed a support system that would assist me in my academic endeavors and now career endeavors. So I knew I had to find a system here or a group of people that would help me because my parents weren't there, my mother wasn't there, and she was the only person that could lead me to the path that I wanted to go. And it was difficult. Came here, I was bullied because I couldn't put some sentences into paper to express myself. I couldn't understand what the professors were saying, and I had to do it all by myself. Cried a couple times. It was difficult, I should say. But as I started to speak to other people like teachers, counselors, I really saw my purpose. My purpose was to be a leader, be someone that would help the ones coming behind me that were in the same situation. I started getting involved at school. It's just a ladder that I built for myself at school, and then I got connections throughout the community, got involved in different organizations and clubs at school, and now I'm here, and listen, I'm still fighting. It's not easy, I'm still fighting, but I'm at a point where I am very proud of what I've accomplished so far. I am the first to attend college in my whole entire family, and I'm attending FAU on full scholarship. Yes, definitely. So it just goes to show, as just mentioned, that the youth is capable of doing so many amazing things. And if we don't have that support system, there's no way we'll be able to show others what we have to offer. So I'm so excited for this discussion today, and I look forward to your questions in this conversation.
Okay, we're not done, so give us 1 second. We did have our other two panelists come in, so I want to go ahead and introduce an organization that's very dear to Comerica Bank as well, the Flight Center. We do have Elysa, who is a housing coordinator, and she has brought with her a youth from the Flight Center, Latifa Dames. So I'm going to give you the opportunity for you to tell us what your personal story is and why it's connected you to youth.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out. So for me, I grew up, my mom worked 2 jobs, and I always say that my path has led me, like I fall into things. I taught school for like 10 years. I was early education teacher, did that until I had my kids. I was like, that's it. And then I fell into social work. Like it wasn't on my path or anything. I fell into social work. And I've been doing this work now for 15 years. And I've been at Flight for what? 4. This is my 4th, going into my 5th year. And what is unique about the Flight Center is that we are a drop-in center. So as the young lady was speaking down there, that the support that youth need in order to succeed, we are it. Anything you could possibly think of, we do it. If we don't have it, we have a connection how to find it. Like we consider ourselves home base. That's what we call ourselves. We're the home base. So it doesn't matter if our youth go out and they're struggling, whatever, they always come back because they know that if they come back and it doesn't, we do have age parameters, but we help all the kids. They all are babies, you know? So they'll come back and say, hey, I'm struggling in this area. What can you do? And we will connect them to additional resources to be able to assist them. Our main target age is we could go as young as 10 up to about 25. We do human trafficking services. We do foster care, youth that are aging out of foster care. We do housing, we do employment. We are building a wellness clinic that does medical and psychological services. We have a DCF representative that's in our office that assists with food stamps. We have a wellness coach, not only for the youth, but also for our staff and staff that is part of our system of care. And when we start talking about the system of care in Broward County, we're talking about the memorials, the Hendersons, all of it is part of our system of care. If they're working with our young people that are aging out of foster care and our young community, they're considered to be a part of the system of care. So we sit in the middle of that and we try to navigate those services. I am so happy to be here today to really tell you what we do and also have the discussion on what some of the shortcomings are in the community. Latifah is not going to brag on herself, but I'm going to do it. Okay, so Latifah is my boo. All right, she's an amazing young lady, mom of 3. I was there when the last baby was born. You know, she aged out of foster care, and she's able to obtain her phlebotomy certificate. So she's a phlebotomist. And all the aspects of housing. And I brought her because it's not squeaky clean, and I don't want to present something that is squeaky clean. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are all about setting our youth up to be successful, and we meet them where they are when they're there. It is not our agenda to push what we want them to do. We're here to support them in whatever their endeavors are. So Latifah started out in our TIL program. She lived in her TIL housing, flew out, went again, come back again. We housed her again. She ran into some more difficulties. We housed her again until we transitioned her into her Section 8 now. And that's where we are now. So I'm gonna let Latifah speak on that.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Latifah Name. She did say a little bit about myself, but I'm going to tell you guys how it started. I was 12 years old when I was first introduced into the foster care system. I came in through an organization called Handy. I still have a really great relationship with them. Mr. Kirk is like a father to me and my sisters and my brothers and my children. Around the age of about 15, I went through some really hardships. I tried to commit suicide. I was put into a mental, kind of group home type of setting to assist me with getting through my hardships and stuff like that. I obtained my GED at 16 years old. I had my first child at 16 years old. I was housed through TIL, I want to say about 4 times, which is a stretch. You only get they can only do but so much, and it is so many foster youth, and there is not enough TIL placement. So I did get housed a lot. I left the state. I came back, I had a child. I was actually in the process, because of my living situation, I was in the process of trying to give him up for adoption. And then I reached back out to the flight center, and they did assist me with keeping my son. One of the staff there actually named him. They did house me again in a placement that they have. It's like a shelter kind of placement, but it's a home. It's a really big home, lots of bedrooms, washer, dryer, dishwasher, like a home setting. There is staff that comes in and assists us with grocery shopping, budgeting, make sure we're doing our chores. We have parenting classes. They helped us do shopping for our kids. My son had got a crib while he was there, and when I left to get placed into an apartment they assisted me with getting into, he actually left with the crib, playpen, stroller, car seat, just everything. I can't brag enough about all the assistance that I had through foster care, because I didn't come from a traditional family of mom and dad. So coming into foster care, like everybody a part of the foster care system is like my family, like ChildNet, just everybody is like the closest thing that me and my kids have to family. Right now, I was gracious enough to enter into a program that the Dana Beach Housing Authority, Deerfield Beach Housing Authority also has. It's called a foster youth program. We're basically just trying it out, and I was one of the first candidates to get onto the program. It was in the beginning, it was normal, but now because of the housing market and everything is high and everything is out of like price range of the housing voucher, there's some difficulties, but that's enough about me. I can't wait to answer any questions. I'm very honest, I'm very blunt, so I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. So thank you.
Moderator couldn't ask for a better panel. I think this is going to go interesting now. So in the beginning, I was gonna have each person answer a question, but since we got some real people who are ready to share their gems with everyone.
Yeah.
If you hear the question and you want to answer it, you just, let me know. This one was important because I think it needs to be addressed, and it's something that, people tend to stay away from asking. What is the biggest misconception? And Ella, you kind of hinted to a little bit, but the biggest misconception about youth commitment and youth capability, and why do you feel these misconceptions exist?
Can y'all hear okay? Okay, for the mic, I know we do that too. It also depends on the so maybe just, okay.
So funny story. I qualify as a millennial. So I loved hearing when I was in the workforce, millennial this and millennial that. And I'm like, hello, hi. Don't you see me hustling? Don't you see me caring about this? I'm a millennial. So to a certain degree, I approach my work with you the same way. Like I did not appreciate being just say, oh, millennial this or Gen Z that, just because I didn't appreciate that, when I went in. It just comes, I think it's not on purpose to a certain degree, but it comes from the good old days. Like the concept of like the good old days is something we all bring, like my generation, my parents' generation. And so the idea that it was much better before, and I get that. But that it's like counting these future generations out before they even, step up to the plate. And so programs like the Allapattah Community Fellows Program and the other programs that we have here, it's about giving the youth this opportunity to step up and show what they've got at an early stage. Because, we're gonna laugh, who am I getting to young? Because we all know in the nonprofit sector, it's not a short sprint. This is the long haul marathon. Whatever your mission is not something, and God, I wish it was easy as off in a sprint, but it's not. So it's a long haul marathon. And I know that I've been given the baton and I'm gonna run it for as long as my leg goes, but I'm gonna have to pass on that baton. This is especially true in the Allapattah community for us. So programs like the Fellows Program, we are treating and giving these leadership education to the community in the neighborhood. And this is where we're like, y'all proud, and I'm gonna make Chelsea blush now. Sitting up front is Chelsea Hercules. She is one of the alumni for our Allapattah Community Fellows Program for cohort 2. She was actually introduced to the program through one of our cohort 1 participants who was gonna be here. His mom got COVID, so he's being all safe to keep you all safe. He was a friend, and they were working on their first community activation project. And he said, Chelsea, like, you're gonna come to this. She's like, what? Like, you're coming to this. And she came. And then she took it on. They were trying to save the library in the Allapattah neighborhood. And she took it on, and then she's like, are you guys gonna do this again? And sent out the application. She was one of the finalists and became one of the cohort 2 fellows in the fall. And she became inspired. And then she looked into public allies. I don't know how familiar you all are with public allies, part of the AmeriCorps programs. And she applied. And I'm so happy to say that she was actually now paired with us and the Allapattah Collaborative as our public ally. And she is raised, born and raised Allapattah. And she is now working to help her to continue to improve her community. And this is showing that, you've given the chance, our youth are more than willing to step up. So it's about not discounting them before they've had this, the shock. And Jesse will laugh because I use Hamilton a lot, like when I do some of my presentations. But it's for a reason. It's about taking the shot, taking that opportunity, not wasting the chance. And if I get them while they're young and active in our community, that means that I'll be able to pass along the baton to someone who is vested into our mission and our community as I am.
Going back to the question why you said that youth, adults or older generations don't feel as though youth are really capable. I want to say this because there's different organizations here and everyone comes from a different aspect of life. Youth will step up if it's just something to step up to. So I don't want to bring that, I know we're talking about youth, but since you all are here, it has to be something that they're stepping up to. What do you have for them? What have you built in your organizations? What type of classes or course or co-vention have you built? What kind of succession? Let's talk corporate for a second. What kind of succession do you have planned for these individuals? Yes, I'm as well as Ellie. So, our thing was, we had Rest for Success, our high school teachers, we went through certain courses, leadership course, that was a school in high school, a course in high school. But once you graduate like this young lady, what's next? You're expecting her to be a coordinator or a specialist or whatever it is in your organizations and your corporations, and then, or she can't do it, she's not capable. Well, is your organization helping her? Do you have something built for her? And then our programs look different. A millennial leadership program or business program looks different from a Gen Z, right? You're a Gen Z, a Gen Z program, right? So now you have to get a little more technical because that's what her generation is. So how much are you willing to change your corporation, your base, your foundation to accommodate youth? Not just put them in volunteer opportunities or have them as your street team passing out flyers when they are strictly.
So I am going to piggyback on that. So here at Flight Center, we hire our youth to be interns. We hire them. Can you hear me? Okay. We hire them to be interns, which could lead to a permanent position. We have hired our youths to do youth programming because nobody understands them but them. And the old days wasn't all great. And we need to recognize that also. Everything wasn't great. So we need to definitely move forward with taking the things that were fantastic, bring those with us, and pair with the youth that know what this technology looks like, and utilize that. And also meeting them where they are and what they want to accomplish. I think sometimes we get misguided and we're using our own agenda. Like, oh, I want this for you. But if that youth don't want it for themselves, you are fighting a losing battle, my friend. You need to get with the youth, find out what their goals are. And sometimes their goals are not your goals. But you have to assist them, will get into their goals to get to the thing that's ultimately important, like being stable. But sometimes for them, that looks like, Miss, I just want a job. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's all it looks like. And you're like, okay, fine. So how are you gonna get that job with no apartment, shower? And you make it make sense for them. You know what I'm saying? You gotta make the math. You know, you gotta make that math for them. So I don't think necessarily is that their lack of capability of moving forward or motivation. I think it's more of what are they stepping up to? What are you giving them the opportunity to step into? I think that's what it is. And I think sometimes we don't do that. We're not doing that. We're not doing that as some organizations are not doing that. They're just saying volunteer, come volunteer for us. Come hang out flyers for us. But if that kid wants to make money and you're not putting the money down in their pockets, then what? we do creative things like if a kid is struggling to get their GED, we have a program that we will pay you to go to school. You can't work and go to school? We get it, come baby. You put in this amount of hours, we'll pay you X amount of dollars for this amount of hours. We have gotten creative through this pandemic of using the technology. For instance, we used to do a lot of life skills in person before the pandemic. We do life skills online now. And we have 80, 100, 120 kids coming online for life skills, for wellness, for cooking classes, and it changed the game for us. So it's something that we've now incorporated in our regular way of us doing business.
I think everybody gave some beautiful points, and what I am hearing collectively is, who are you recruiting and how are you helping them step up? So as our organizations, corporate partners, you know, we gotta collaborate more. I hope our nonprofit organizations do not work in silos. You learn that what works over here, share those gems with another nonprofit, allow them to come in, and because there's enough kids for all of us to handle. It's not enough of us. So with that being said, I do want to add one question, and let me see, I think I want one of the youth to answer this one. Have any of you witnessed what I like to call adult privilege? As it relates to the common saying, we've always done it this way, or you haven't been on this earth long enough. How does that make you feel, and does it lower your confidence as it relates to your innovation abilities through your lens? Oh.
Well, from my side of the field, I've always been in contact with really supportive adults, really loving adults, really who can understand and see me for me. My confidence is through the roof, nobody can knock it. But I'm gracious enough to say that I am in contact with adults that support me, that try to guide me to the right path, even when sometimes I can be hard. But I know there are some hardships within the foster care system. You know, because everybody has this pre-notation, oh, you're in foster care, you're bad. Oh, you weren't wanted, like, or you're a throwaway child or anything, but we all come from different worlds. It could be, you know, you didn't have family, or, you know, your parents passed or anything, because I've met different youth throughout the foster care system, but I really can't speak to that question, you know, but I've always had very supportive adults that not take their position for granted or try to downshare us, like, oh, you know, I do this, so you should follow what I'm doing. No, they're very supportive and just try to guide us to do the right things, and lead us to other organizations, because I've met or been in contact with other organizations through other organizations, actually.
I think one thing that adults have a hard time seeing in the youth is how creative they are. You know, sometimes a task might be so difficult that they think that adults can only, you know, take care of that. But once a youth starts shouting ideas, just saying random things, the perspective shifts immediately, believe me. You know, two voices is better than one. And the youth, I believe, has a quality that is so resilient, that is so authentic, that they can bring to any task that is given to them. And if they don't get that opportunity, their confidence level comes to the ground. And that impacts them a lot, because then once the next opportunity comes, they would not get that opportunity because someone else just discouraged them immediately, understand? So I think the biggest thing is to, you know, just let the youth share their voices. Just tell you what they think about something. And, you know, it might change your company, your organization for the better, which is why I love when organizations just bring ambassadors, advocates, people who have gone through the situation that will be here to motivate others or help the organization become a better one. And I know Junior Achievement does that a lot, because the alumni network is what builds the organization. People, the youth, is the drive of the organization's success.
I don't know how many people have heard, like, coming up through career in business, well, you have to put in your time. When you voiced it, you started, you're voicing it, you voiced an idea, and someone's like, you know, this is the way it's always been done. And my favorite, you know, you have to serve your time. It's about shifting that ingrained idea of corporate America. And as you know, they said, it's opening up, yet, you know, that every voice can be heard, should be heard. You know, the idea might not work initially, but that might spark somebody else. And, you know, the youth do bring that. Maybe they you see, you know, 2D, 3D, they might see that extra fourth side that the rest of us didn't. So it's one of the ways.
There's no bad ideas. There's no bad ideas, because one leads to another, right? So there's no bad ideas. One of the things that we do is we always ask the youth, what's your plan? What's your plan? Like, what's your idea? Tell us this. And we have a YUSA, we have a youth organization out of Flight that is helping us to map those things and connect those ideas. Because the youth voice is important. It's their voice that we need, because like I said, without lived experience, they're the expert. They're the expert of their lives, and we're just here to assist them. So if we're not taking their voice into consideration, then we have a problem.
So now we've talked about some great youth. Coach Mo has to keep it real. How do we get to the youth that don't want to be got to? That's the question I have, because I know a lot of nonprofits have a lot of services, a lot of, you know, programs. And if you have a football play out, the kids come in numbers. You have a workshop at a community organization and you can barely fill it up. So I'm asking the hard question: how do we get the youth that aren't like these two? Because let me tell you something, I haven't met you, Queen, but I'm sure we'll meet again. This one is on every workshop I think I've ever been on her own. She comes to workshops. But how do we get our other youth to get that kind of understanding that they have to invest in themselves?
I'll answer that. I'll go first. How do we get them to come to what we have going on? That's the complete opposite mindset to have. We don't get them to come to us, we go to them. If they are out there on a football field, Saturday Little League or whatever, we're out there with a table, we're tabling. We're talking to parents, we're talking to guys, we're talking to their guardians, we're talking to coaches. We're making our presence known. They can't go to something they don't know about. They can't go to a financial workshop if they don't know anything about it. Why would I have a financial workshop and they're playing football? I have to again meet them where they are. So now let's have a discussion before practice about bringing in athletes, community athletes, or how athletes lose their money. There's things on, I think it's on HBO, 30 for 30. It's the documentary. Bring that to those kids. Let them see that. This is what it looks like. Give them scenario situations. You can't expect them to come. I love JA, but you can't expect the whole team to come to JA and they got a championship game. I think I'm going to go to my championship game before I go to a literacy workshop or a financial literacy workshop. You have to meet them where they are. So then again, there goes that creativity, because we're not talking about people who were born in the 60s, the 50s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, or the 2000s. We're talking about those 20,000 to them, y'all. That's what we're talking about, y'all, right? And it's hard enough, I can joke all day with you, right? Because that's just who I am. But let's say if my grandmother was here, she wouldn't know how to get you to go to a literacy workshop. She would sit you down and we're gonna sit here and talk. It doesn't work like that. We have to literally go and get them. So you have to have someone, if it's not you, you have to identify someone in your organization who is that key spokesman that says, hey, I'm gonna get this young lady, I'm gonna get this young man. And how can we be creative? What can we do, right? For instance, and I'll throw this out there, y'all can pay me later, I'll send y'all my cash out for it. Y'all son, Dr. Ciara. You are honestly, let's say, for instance, you want to get some young ladies about financial literacy. Let's not have a tea party. Like, let's do something creative to get these girls here. Let's have a fashion show. Young ladies like fashion. Young ladies like makeup. When you start talking about makeup, here we go. Again, there goes your science. There goes your STEM. If you want young ladies to learn STEM, make your own lip gloss. That's super easy. Make your own. You have to meet them where they are. This is for men. This is for women, girls, or boys. You have to meet them. Don't expect them to come to you when you're not offering anything, when it does not look pleasing. I'd rather be on a video game. I'd rather be on Fortnite than to sit in a financial literacy workshop. You have to meet them where they are.
I will say exactly people know where they are, and also adapt. Because how many of people used to include QR codes everywhere? Because it just made it easier for the youth to say, okay, I don't have time to read the flyer at a table, but I'll load it on my phone. I'll go through an application. Other thing about me is about meeting where they are. It's also helping them realize that they can do something. That's right. Helping them realize that the potential is in them, that we see the potential in them. Because initially when we started the program, I was out there recruiting, and I was coming out to the schools, and they're like, what's the chance for me to actually get it? How many kids are you actually going to do? Is this a one-time thing? And they're like, they were defeating themselves before even applying. And it was literally about coming in and telling them all about the program, having my QR code out there, and just a lot of just give it a shot. If you don't get into this one, we're gonna have more of these programs going on, and just a word of mouth, getting them to believe that they had a shot in Allapattah to get a program like this, that they had a shot to completing this fellowship with potentials for scholarships, getting them to have that confidence to just apply. Because sometimes, again, you go and you're there, but they're like, it's not for someone like me. And that is what killed me when I started working in the program. I'm like, but you have this potential. And it's just getting them to have that confidence. Because again, this goes for the long-standing disinvestment, at least within our community. It's like everybody thinks I'm just a kid from Allapattah. But there's so much more. And so, yes, definitely meeting them where they are and then helping them see that potential within them. I think it's super important.
I'm sorry, I wanted to add something. The typical PowerPoint presentation doesn't work anymore. It doesn't. Sometimes the youth wants to see some similar background, similar things, something they can relate to. I love workshops. I love networking. I love to connect with others. I love meeting new people, but everyone is not like me. Every youth is not like me. And I wasn't like that before either. I had to understand the importance of professionalism, the importance of networking before applying it. So that's where it starts, teaching them the importance and how they can apply it. And believe me or not, this generation, we need someone to take our hands or spoon feed us. That's the way it is. Lead by example. If you're gonna do it, show me how to do it and I'll follow you. That's the way it is. And I really, really emphasize this. We need people who we can relate to. Someone who's coming to speak to us and we have no idea what their background is. We have no idea what they have to offer. There's no way that person's gonna inspire us. And that's what we need as youth.
I'm gonna see the chair. I'm gonna put it right now. Okay. Come on down. Everybody. Keep Chelsea. And you know what? Just doing this, in my opinion, is helping these youth be prepared to sit on panels and speak openly. So this is clear.
One thing for me as a youth, I would when somebody would try to present something to me, I felt like I was being looked down on sometimes. That's a big part of youth. The business world is very big. And a lot of youth are very scared because they come from nothing. They don't know anything. They don't know anything about, I don't even know anything yet. I barely know anything. So I don't even want to throw out words and you guys are like, what are you talking about? So every time, I would try to go to a workshop or do something and try to be involved, I felt like I was being looked down on instead of someone helping me. And, that's a big part of people in Allapattah. They feel like they're being looked down on. That's why they don't engage as much as other youth, because they don't feel like they're, what's the word I'm looking for? They like, no, like they're worthy. Thank you. They don't feel like they can do it. So for me, that was a big part of, trying to do things, because I felt like I was being looked down on. I was in this program, it's called JRTC, and a big thing from it was you need to follow in order to lead. And, you can't follow someone that looks down on you. So, yeah.
I'm finna put get on the spot. You talk about my presentations. Okay, so I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add that before you start working with a youth, you want to engage. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're talking about whatever your program is. It's engaging them on a different level. Find a way to connect. So I used to be a life coach, and when I was a life coach, I used to only want to work with boys. Give me all the boys, with all the DJs, with all of it. I'll take all of them, And what I learned from that was they'd be like, Miss, da 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 da. I'm like, okay, tell me what you're listening to. So I got to Kodak Black, and I found songs that I could relate to, and I'm like, oh. And so it became this thing where they'll play one song for me, and then I'll play one song for them. And then we build relationships on music, or I had kids that like to eat. And I'd be like, oh, let's go have lunch here. Let's go have lunch there. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. And we build relationship that way. So the engagement piece, before you even start talking about your program, is so important. Is engaging them on a human level, just engaging them. And then you'll get them to do all the other things that they're capable of doing. They'll come to it, and sometimes you just have to be okay with planting the seed. Be okay with planting the seed, that you plant the seed, and you planted it. And you may not see it, or a kid will come back to you 2 years later, and they're doing well, and they're like, Miss, I know you told me, blah, blah, blah. I said, I already saw it. I already saw it. I saw it when I met you. You couldn't see it. My job was to help you see it. So the engagement piece is for me, is the most important part.
Okay, so y'all enjoying yourself out there? Yes. I got another young, I don't like to just judge now. Are you a young person? Then you need to come, I'd like you to come on up. Come on, this is about you all. We shouldn't be, so go ahead.
I don't know if I should multitask and get a chair at the same time. But something that wasn't touched upon is that oftentimes in spaces when youth are maneuvering through life, when there's that interaction between youth and adult, the one thing that isn't established is listening, but in the sense of the adult will listen to respond instead of listening to understand. So there will be a moment where I will acknowledge something, and then before you even marinate what I said, you'll just shoot it down because of what your normalcy is. But it's like, you can't help me if you don't understand me. So before you can implement what you think is a solution, understand my problem first.
I'm literally like, is anybody having some self-reflection moments?
That's great.
Like, I mean, like, if we're not, I think they're telling us exactly what we need to hear. And I think everything that's being shared here, there are not a lot of people in this room. So we got a lot of work to do to go out and share this information and have some collaborative conversations with other people as it relates to our youth. Bill? Of course, you know, listen, we got an hour left. I want to allow, since we have so many people, beautiful people on the panel, I will go ahead and open it now, if that's okay with my panelists, for anyone, and we'll just have some open dialogue so that we can all talk, and I'm sure you all have some great ideas as well.
So I got so excited and I can't sit down. So Black church right now. We've seen so much of, and I love positive affirmation. I'm getting right now, so I love it. First of all, I want to give kudos to Comerica Bank because of something that they helped us to do this past year, which was Hip Hop Fin Fest, and that was bringing financial education to youth in a totally different way, which is something that was being bringing it to them and through hip hop, right? And then, first of all, second of all, I guess, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing life. I think that what you've gone through has been really difficult, and I really appreciate that you're here to talk about it. And as far as the program that you're offering, and with having interns is another. I think it's wonderful, and being able to pay students to go through education that really can make a big difference. Where it's really changing the way people think about things. We have an internship program that we do annually. We have 5 and 8 interns, and so there are opportunities for many of the nonprofits in here to have paid interns, but you don't have to pay for them. So through Truist has a bunch of different all over the state. You do not have to pay for the interns; they will help you with their programs. So I think that is something that you know, basically what you were saying about how helping them, you know, paying them to do things. And you know, I hired one of mine who had an intern that when she was 16, she now has $1 million. Full-time employee. So anyway, there's so many great things that are happening here, and I could go on forever, but positive affirmation is awesome, and everything that y'all are saying is exciting.
Well, I'm gonna give, he's humbling himself. I'm gonna give Bill some serious kudos. He didn't mention his organization, but he is he works with Florida Prosperity Partnership. Now, let me explain something that's unique about his organization. Did you hear the gem he just told you? This is what his organization does as well. They help provide resources. So you sign up to be a member, you'll see various workshops. They're innovative workshops. He brings together tons of nonprofit community leaders, everyone in one place, and they provide educational information like this to help small nonprofits and small businesses. Am I saying it correctly? But he does not forget the youth, because I said, hey, we're doing stuff with youth. What can you do? He said, I got something, Mo. We can do hip hop. I said, oh, hip hop. I said, where's the mic? I'm ready. 2,000 kids. Yes.
It's not just
Do we have any other comments from anyone? Oh, go over.
I'm just gonna piggyback off of what she was saying about Bill. I think it's very important that other organizations reach out to other organizations. One thing a lot of people say about me is I'm resourceful, because if I can't get the help, I'm gonna find out where I can get the help from. So I think it's very important for a lot of other organizations to be in contact with other organizations, because you may have a program that Bill doesn't have, or Bill may have the knowledge on a program or organization that can assist the youth in a way that your program cannot assist you. And if the main goal are the youth then everybody can help out with the youth and for the youth, because there are a lot of programs that a lot of people don't know about, like throughout Career Source Broward. How many people knew that Career Source Broward also does scholarships, assist you with paying for school, assist you with childcare? There's a lot of organizations out there that touch base on other things. So I think it's very important for more things like this to happen, more panels like this to happen, just for more organizations, because there is a lot of resources out there that you may know about that another organization may not know about.
I think you got a committee head, and a committee co-head, and listen, y'all know I'm about it now. We can create, listen, different organizations can provide Zoom time, but we need help. We listen, us adults, we get on there, and my kids had to remind me, Mommy, I came from you. No, wait, how did you say it? I came from you, but I'm here to be through you. Meaning, I can't keep telling him what I feel is best for him. And a lot of us in nonprofits, we create our missions. We just feel like we know what the kids need. And it's coming from our own past, right? It's coming from what might have happened to us, but it's not about us. It is about what the kids are needing. So after this is over, I hope I got some youth here that are going to be willing to start a youth collaborative committee where you all are responsible for making sure us nonprofits come to hear what you all need. Because you're right, we don't have enough of these. Go ahead. You weren't here earlier, sir, but my young man, he couldn't make it. I did invite Mr. Chad Jordan. I'll get my one to merit. Go ahead, you can stand up.
My name is looking at the director of community local alliance in South Florida. I work both Miami and Broward County. And that one to highlight what importantly you want to be a part of what we're doing is great. Even if it's also great, but I think it's great that I think it's important for us to actually employ these as well. I have a couple of management on our team for like some of the we just promoted one person to the full-time manager now and membership at Allapattah. And she does membership and outreach, and she came in during the beginning of the pandemic and we're like, okay, but I see something in you, so I'm gonna hire you and you're gonna do more because I can see you do it. And of course she doesn't know what she's doing. She's like, oh, but I don't really know what to do. She does this all the time. And I'm like, okay, no, but like, what's the, you got this though. Like, if we have you doing this, we're going to push more, and we don't take it as an opportunity to teach her things, we take it as an opportunity for her to actually express her way to grow and like share ideas. So I think that's super, super important. That's what they're, that's someone to just get part information or to get information from us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Monty Larson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Children's Services Council. And I want to say, as a government partner, we fund a lot of the programs that you all are talking about, and it gives me great pleasure to know that for the last 20 years, we have been a major part of this community. We have the Children's Trust in Miami. We have the Children's Services Council in Palm Beach, and our whole mission is to fund services for of all ages and all youth. But we've learned a lot over the last 20 years as well. And we've learned that the youth voice is very important. Yes. And so we have started the last few years of incorporating that youth voice in. Whoops. And so one of the things, when you talked about a youth collaborative, we have that in Broward County through Flight. And we fund the youth YSO. I forgot now what it means exactly. Yes, and so we fund that now. So instead of doing lots of little things, let's build or have here in the community. And thank you for all of you, what you've said and your voice. It's so important. We all have lots to learn, even as a governmental agency. I pride ourselves on being the kinder, gentler organization. We work very closely with Pandy, with all of our partners, And with the Florida Prosperity, we have our hand in all kinds of stuff with youth and children. And I'm the board member, I'm also a board member for CRA, and so thank you for moderating this.
Okay, so who's in charge of the collaborative? I need to make sure it's through flight. So,
Actually, the youth are in charge.
Yes.
well, I mean, to get in contact.
Hold on a second. They just did a presentation at our board meeting last week, and it was incredible. Our council was blown away by the youth voice speaking on their behalf. So it's a wonderful organization. It's kind of shepherd, it's through Christ, but it's the youth that are really beneficial.
Okay, so the youth system organization on the flight is a collaborative between young people and their system professionals that they're paired with. And that whole system is, they take turns in being like the board chair or who's presenting this week, and they're teaching them this skill set. So if you want to be a partner to that, you have to apply to application process, and you do get, there's like a stipend for the amount of hours that you put in. There's definitely a financial benefit, but I could definitely send the information to Ms. Mo and get that to her so she could spread it out to everybody.
So I do have one question of you, actually. So as the finance officer and being in charge of government money, I have to be careful on how that's done. So when we want to pay you for their services and your time and show that respect, I have an issue with paying you with the Amazon funds.
Right.
Because to me, that's just not right. It doesn't foster savings. But when I try to write a check, a lot of times the youth don't have faith in that. So what's the best way for me to be able to compensate you all for your time?
That's a good question. Exactly. So bank account, a lot of young people don't know what that is. So why not create a course that will help them understand what that is and the process it takes to open one, and then from there teach them how to manage money. And once they start getting paid, they know how that works. They know how to manage their own money. I think that would be a good idea. Yeah, I wanted to mention, I've been a huge member of Junior Achievement of South Florida, and their mission or their pillars are entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and career readiness. And I must say that after going through their career bound program, I learned such important hard and soft skills that have led me to an internship this past summer. It was with South Florida Tech Hub. And tech is the key word here because I'm a health science major. I know nothing about technology, but I kept an open mind, and I just wanted to seek an opportunity that would help me see things in a different perspectives. And after going through their internship program this past summer, I had just had a casual conversation with the manager, and she said that she would want to hire me as a part-time employee. And I, of course, said yes. And I am now still a part-time employee. I serve as the administrative assistant intern for South Florida Tech Hub. And believe it or not, I was hesitant about that internship. Why? Because it was not in my field of study. But because I kept an open mind and I stepped out of my comfort zone with the help of Junior Achievement and other people who motivated me to do that, I was able to do it. And I must say it has been an amazing opportunity because I've been connected to companies like Office Depot, FPL, huge company, Microsoft, people that I thought I would never meet in my entire life. I am making great connections with them. So the bottom line of the story is the smallest things have a huge impact on all of us.
Debbie Faircombe from Junior Achievement. I want to say that the times are changing, and they're changing because of these amazing young people up here. And all of the organizations that are allowing these young people to go into situations where they can practice skills. I think, a few years ago, businesses were, no, we don't want to hire young people. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know, they're just not comfortable with them coming into their businesses. But these young women are paving the way, right? And I think it's up to us, people from all of us in businesses and in nonprofit organizations to ask businesses to come up to the table, open their doors, and let these kids come in. They need them. They need them because times are changing so quickly. Listen to their voices. We're not going anywhere without them.
That's right.
So we need to make sure that as businesses, we open the doors and we make sure that these young people have a place. And, Huguette, you want to know something? The businesses that she's been involved with, they're now opening their doors. We see that. We see a flood of businesses saying, hey, yeah, having these internships. It's a great thing because we're getting the young mindset, and we need that if we want to be successful in business today. So thank you, all of you. What an amazing group.
Anybody else? Any questions?
So something that we don't talk about often in terms of the youth experience, in coming into new spaces where we have to prove ourselves, comes the imposter syndrome. Because of that whole thing of you're so young, or oh my God, like it's that patronizing aspect of wow, like you're not like other youth or anything like that. So we kind of have to prove ourselves and prove to other people in the room that we're not like other youth. And I think that encouraging youth and saying that because you're young, you provide a different perspective and a different set of eyes, and that what makes you unique and different because of that experience. So instead of, oh, I don't amount myself to this because of qualifications that are on paper, it's I'm qualified and I've been chosen because of who I am and because of my new experience and my
All of us right now, like that imposter syndrome kind of goes along with us, but I think that's just that's an effect of this being minority and sometimes women, but that's a whole other issue. But
I really want to talk about that. To encourage every young lady up here. I don't want this to be about me, but for 2 seconds, when I got my doctorate degree, I was 23 years old. And thank you. I was the youngest. I was the only minority due to my skin color and to my sex. So my classes at the university was an older white gentleman. So when you say you have to prove yourself, I had to prove myself several times. I was always the youngest in the room. I'm surprised, probably I was probably the youngest on the panel till y'all came up here. I was the youngest in the room, right? Y'all didn't take my little spotlight for the day. But everywhere I go, I'm always the youngest, right? And and it's weird to me. And I'm just saying this from my experience, it's weird to me. I sat on boards as a young age, like at your age, guys' age. I sat on corporate boards and it was nothing but older white ladies. So when they had these fancy charity galas, I was by myself in the back in a gown. I didn't know what, it was weird. It felt weird. Even in spaces now at 34, sometimes I still feel weird because I'm still that, and I don't know how they perceive me, but in my head, I'm still that little black girl and I'm just like the only black girl here. And I don't know what's going on, or the only minority girl there. So when you say you have to fit in or you have to live it up, sometimes I'm gonna tell y'all this Miss Ciara, this ain't Dr. Ciara, right? This Miss Ciara talking. Sometimes y'all have to slide y'all credentials across the table and let them know that you can do it. Don't let them look at your age, don't let them look at your sex, gender, whatever the case may be, but you can do it. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but here's the thing, you're paving the way for the next person behind you, whether it be male or female. So you think of yourself as the prototype. I'll be the one that gotta do it. I'll be the one, if I gotta sit here and go through the trenches and be uncomfortable for 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours, you know what, I'll be the one. They're gonna count you out. I'm telling you now, your story is special. They're gonna count you out, but baby, don't let them count y'all out. Don't let them count y'all out. Just look at it as you're paving the way for the next person, okay? So don't ever be discouraged, because we still going through that. So don't ever be discouraged when it comes to.
Oh my goodness. And through those words, I think even adults can still hear that, because we still deal with a lot of people fell into positions. Like, you didn't roll over and say you wanted to do this. You sometimes fall into the positions, but you know, like you said, you have to believe in yourself. So I love all the words of encouragement, because I've been that girl sitting in the back of the room with my gown on too. So while we're saying that, if you see a girl in the back of the room, come say hi. Let me introduce you to somebody, because we need help. That's, you know, I won't call that allyship, because, you know, allyship has to be built on a whole different level, but it's at least reading the room. It's reading the room and taking ownership. And can we keep it real? I've had African-American people leave me in the back and not introduce. So it's not just a color thing, it's just the respect and how we feel about treating others. If you see somebody coming into the banquet and they didn't have anywhere to sit, would you like to, I don't want you to sit by yourself, would you like to come sit? You go and acknowledge people so they don't feel that type of way. And we're setting the stage so that the young people see us doing it, right?
Preach. I was gonna say this. It is okay to tell other people that you're doing great. And while you're telling them that they're doing great, you're gonna say, sis, come let me introduce you to this people.
That's right.
And you're also gonna say, don't be afraid to ask somebody, be like, listen, that lady just inspired me. Come meet me. And I'm telling you something that happened on Saturday. I was in a room with some people. I don't know any of these people. I'm with my team. And I told my CEO, I was like, you need to introduce me to her. And she was like, come on, let's go. But if I didn't open my mouth, it wouldn't have happened. Right. You know, so it's don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid. Like, and fear is something that you have inside of yourself. And the more the anxiety builds and the more afraid you become, push through it. Come on. Push through. Because on the other side of that is gonna be an answer. And you just gotta push through it, you know?
This conversation for youth discussions, because I'm moving it, I'm gonna go past the COVID. I think we're tired of talking about COVID. So I'm gonna go ahead and move past that. I wanna ask, like, anyone on the panel, and this is gonna require some transparency, can you describe a time when you had to have a conversation, a hard conversation with someone, either a youth or an adult, and how did their different views impact you? So meaning, you might have taken something and you felt you were giving some advice, but you did listen. How did it impact you, and what did you do with that information going forward?
When I was a freshman in high school, I was still learning English. I was still part of ESOL, but I knew I wanted to be part of the medical field. I wanted to be part of the medical program at my high school. And because I was an ESOL student, they told me that they're not going to give me the opportunity to be part of the program, because sometimes ESOL students have a hard time adapting to the different medical terms and such. And I spoke to one person and she told me that. I went to another person, she told me the exact same thing. I went to somebody else and I said, we need to do something about it. Can I be the first person to prove that they're wrong? And and right then and there, and she was an action supporter, although it was a very difficult situation. She sat with me and wrote a letter on my behalf explaining what I was going through and what I was capable of doing. And I must tell you, a few weeks later, I had a schedule change with the medical class that I wanted to be a part of. And 3 years later, I graduated high school with my medical magnet distinction. Yes. Just listening, and I know you mentioned that earlier, listening and supporting someone can lead to greater success. And we need more action supporters, although you might not agree with whatever that youth is saying. Although it might be the stupidest idea ever, please support in any way possible, because you never know what that one small thing that the youth is saying or doing might lead to.
I realize I never fully introduced myself, so I'm sorry if I seem like an ambiguous Jane Doe right now, so I'm going to introduce myself now. I'm Melanie Ramirez, but everyone calls me Mel. I'm a part of the Youth Voice Action Council, part of the Homie Collective, which is facilitated by Miami Homes for All. And I have to establish it before I kind of go into my little anecdote. So 2 years ago, I was homeless for 9 months, and I lived in a homeless shelter during the peak of the pandemic. And there was a point in time where in me going into the homeless shelter, I didn't have access to internet and laptop to finish my college courses. And my first case manager, who I didn't even speak to until a month into the pandemic, I was like, so what am I gonna do about my classes? And she was like, oh, but you don't have to worry about that, you're homeless. Like you should worry about your education right now. And I was like, so I'm just gonna fail my classes now and just have my GPA be lowered because of the situation that I don't have control over. And she just wasn't allowing herself to understand my point of view of things, because you can take away my house, you can take away my job, you can take away so many things, but education is something you can never take away from me. And the fact that she wasn't allowing me to invest in that, I felt defeated, but I understood in that moment that if someone is claiming to help me, but isn't there for me, I shouldn't rely on them, and I should just go on to the next person because you're holding me back. I'm not going to wait for you to have that eureka moment of like, oh, maybe I should do this, because now you're wasting my time because I'm investing in me. And if you're not investing in me, then we can just go our separate ways. And I realized that despite my age and my experience, because we kind of, at least in terms of the youth space, right? We're taught that adults are more mature because of their age. But I've realized throughout my entire, the experiences that I've had is that maturity is based off of the lessons that you've learned, as opposed to the experiences that you've had, because you can experience something multiple times and never learn anything. So,
That's good.
right. So it's kind of like, in being of a certain age, you have to be aware enough to know that you know yourself better than the other person does. So if someone tries to tell you anything about you that isn't true, to be like, well, I don't know who you're talking about, because that's not me. Because I'm gonna be the person to get my education, to get my bread up, to get where I need to be, because I'm here to help me. And if you're not here to help me, then you can just move out the way, because you in my way. Yeah, that part.
All right, wow, like, what?
It's a top of, just the top of what you're saying. My motto is there's no losing. There's no losing. You're either winning or learning. That's it. And when you adopt that mindset that there is no losing, you're winning or you're learning. So what's the lesson? This happened, what's the lesson? What am I taking away from it? What am I not gonna do? What am I gonna do differently the next time? So those are the things that we try to incorporate with our youth. It's like, stop worrying about, oh, I'm messed up, I'm losing. There's no losing. Take that off the table.
All right.
So I want to say something pertaining to knowing who you are and the things that people say to you that discourage you. I'm standing before you as a 52-year-old woman, but when I was that 13-year-old little girl, there you have telling you you're ugly, you're too black, you're too fat, you're not this, you ain't gonna be anything. So I took that and I said, you know what? It damaged so much. It made me feel that what I had been through was okay. Like it was my fault, like I brought it on, like I okayed everything. So just to give you a backstory, I was sexually abused at the age of 8. And not having anyone to talk to or having that out created this whole dynamic in my life that I'm just nothing. So you have a blank canvas, you know what I'm saying? So with that, when people start throwing all those negative comments to me, I began to believe them. And I actually lived it. It took me until I turned 45 to recreate my whole life. Okay? Turning 45, turning 45 was when I decided that I need to reach back into my community for little Black and brown kids that are getting treated just like that at home. And I needed to get inside their home because it's not the children, it's the parents. So if we don't know better, we can't teach better, we can't allow, they won't do better. It's no reassuring that it's working. So you gotta get in the house, get to the parents. So I started a nonprofit, for youth. Hosanna for Youth been hitting the ground with Broward County, Dade County, West Palm Beach. We went all over Florida. I'm serious. We all in Georgia. We have several programs. Those programs was modeled after my life. Because you know why? I kept meeting me every time I turned the corner. That's right. I was meeting me when I go into the schools. I was meeting me when I went into the churches. I'm meeting me as I'm listening to you young ladies. I mean, in every aspect of my life, I can relate to each one of you, every single one of you. Now, one thing that I always wanted, I was like, I'm going back to school. I did drop out in the 11th grade, but I met a lady on the street because I was homeless at the time. And the lady encouraged me to go back to school, but I was pregnant at the time. Yeah, girl, this story's good. Anyway, so when I say I own this, I created it. So once I got myself together, that lady said, go back to school. I went back to school. At the time, Broward County stopped all pregnant teens from going to school in with the regular community kids. We had to go to Siegel. I went to Siegel, and guess what? Graduated at the top of my little class. I was allowed to go back to the high school to walk the stage, but I couldn't because I was giving birth. Okay? But one thing I always wanted was to go back to school to get a degree. I went to college, but if you don't change nothing, you take that same job where you go. So I was up in Youngstown, Ohio, living like I was in South Florida. Nevertheless, I'm saying that no matter the comparisons, we as women, especially Black women, we would sit next to someone and compare ourselves. Don't do it. Each one of you are special in your own way. And you have to find what way works for you. And believe it. It took me 46 years. It took me all that time. But I had to open myself up to be taught. And I had to be willing to learn. I had to listen. I had to be able to listen to different ages. You know, not just older people, young people too, that helped me become this woman I am today and build my confidence up. Thank you, doctor. Build my confidence up. And I just wanted to get up so you all could, you know, understand that each of us have these organizations, but if you haven't lived what your organization stands for, you're gonna have a hard time reaching these children. You have to be able to relate to this story. That talking down on is that thing, but I don't understand what you're talking about. I never went through that. I'm not asking you if you went through it. I'm telling you what I'm experiencing. So you have to be willing to listen. And that's the one thing that I learned when sitting with other organizations. They keep missing it. They keep missing it. So every time you encounter a youth and you miss it, yes, guess what you did? You just messed up the dynamics of the community even worse. That's right. Because they had hope, they came to you. Mm-hmm. So with that, I am excited to be here. Hosanna for you is excited to be here. I got a big mouth, I talk a lot, then you're gonna be good friends, okay? I wanna get to know all of you all, and please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me and let's talk.
Yes, she is a phenomenal queen. I love your work. You didn't explain how different the work is though. Okay, 'cause I think it's important.
Because I've been talked about so much, so when I want to talk about myself, I like to talk. So Hosanna for Youth is a nonprofit organization. We're located in Broward County. We have 4 programs. We have Expose the Conversation is for those that's been impacted by incest, molestation, rape, human trafficking, and domestic violence. Reason that program was established, that was my life. Not to get into my story, but that was me. Then we got another program called Hugs, which is helping underage LGBTQ+ youth with dealing with their sexuality. A lot of families ain't welcoming of that. But I'm gonna give you a little short thing to let you understand something. The parents in our community, they'll put the child out because they are LGBTQ, but won't deal with the uncle touching them. You know what I mean? So that's where that program came from. It's a whole story. And then we have a program for children that are currently living in foster care, because we kept running into children that are still being traumatized in the homes that they are placed in. So with that, that's our care program. We have another program called Maximize Fitness. And that's if the mind ain't right, the body ain't gonna do right. And if your mama ain't right, your daddy ain't right. So it's a whole family thing of health, wellness, mental health. It's all of that to combat the family dynamics. So that's Hosanna for You. Thank you.
One thing I'm hearing, and y'all give me a minute, I know I'm moderating, but I gotta give my 2 cents. I got coins too. It is so many nonprofits, but what I don't hear enough, and if anybody knows my role, y'all know I interact with a lot of nonprofits. I don't, and so does Tara. I don't hear enough collaboration though. I really don't. I don't hear enough bigger nonprofits taking on smaller grassroots nonprofits. Adama definitely knows what we're talking about, but I do give you and Children's Service Council some kudos because they're at least opening the conversation and how they can help more grassroots nonprofits. Because as we're talking all of this program services, these things cost money. So I do want to open up the door to ask, what type of hurdles have you all faced, as most of these nonprofits in here are targeted toward the youth community? What are you feeling when it comes to grants and sponsorships or assistance and even collaboration with bigger nonprofits? Oh gosh, hold on. My goodness. Okay, who y'all want to hear from? Somebody pick. All of them. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I am a youth. I'm not part of a nonprofit organization, but when I was placed at one of Flight Center's shelters, there were like the foster care youth and then the community youth, and they didn't have as much assistance, as much programs, as much grants, as much help as the people who went to foster care. So I was always baffled, like, oh, but they can't get this and I can get this. Right. And they can get that and I can't get that. But how is that? I think everybody who comes through, whether they're community, whether they're foster care, whether they're from a different country, whether they're from a different state, everybody needs to be able, youth-wise, everybody needs to be able to get the same assistance, because maybe some assistance that the government is giving us that the community doesn't give, community kid, they can really benefit from. It can put them in a better predicament. It can put them in just a better space in general. So I think it's very important for all youth coming into foster care or any type of situation to be able to get all the assistance. And that's why I can go back to say a lot of places need to be in collaboration. That was it for me. Like, everybody have different resources that can be used for youth, not only youth, but for your organization, for your nonprofit, for your business, for your side business. It can be really helpful for everybody, not just the youth, but for you all. You all are putting these programs together for us. You are putting these programs for us through your life stories and all that, and not knowing that probably we've been through it. I can't speak for everybody, but I've been through a lot in my 20 odd years of being on this earth. I've been through a lot. So I think it is very important to go back to what Ms. Mo said. It is important to reach out, because I hear a program that she have and I'm like, okay, I like that. That sounds like, oh, she's seasoned. She knows a little something, she's seasoned. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic.
This is why I like young people. Cause they season. Okay, so the question was about funding when it comes to programs. So I've had God's Gift for the last 15 years in September, and I didn't go into what we do real quick, I'll run it off. But outside of the self-esteem and leadership, we have peer-to-peer mentoring, we have a leadership training, we have financial workshops, I have a virtual book club, and many other things. I have a whole entire STEM program, and I also have a diversion program. So when it comes to funding, my competitors, because I work with all girls, are larger organizations. So one of the difficulties that I found is that larger organizations get the money, but then they pull me in because they need the collaboration. Thank you. I was trying to be nice. They need actually people on the ground who understand. Let's say it's a $500,000 grant on, I don't know, girls in reading, a literacy program for young girls. They'll go to bigger organizations because they're more known, but then those bigger organizations have to come to people like me who actually has the girls, who have low reading scores, who actually have the girls who need assistance in reading, but then I don't see any of that. They get that. Why is it that they have to apply, but then I have to do the work? Why is it that I can't apply? I just read a grant that the other day, I can't apply unless I have a 5% match. Where I'm gonna get a 5% match for a $500,000 grant but the workers at the bottom, and I think we all can attest to that, they're sitting here, but the workers at the bottom who are actually doing the work, who actually have the statistics, that larger organizations are taking their statistics, but they're getting the money for it. So there has to be something, whether it's with the banks, whether with CSC, and I know you said collaboration, which is good, but collaboration, really collaborating, not just using me because you want grant money and you want your, executive director to get an extra stipend. There's people that's on the ground that's actually doing things like that. So when we think of collaboration, we have to be wise and financial. I love it. I love what everyone's doing and how they're financing. But remember the little people on the ground. $2,000 is nothing. For a thank you for that. That's a thank you for that. But that's nothing compared to a Boys and Girls. I'm not putting shade to anybody, but to a Boys and Girls Club, to a YMCA, to a pay center for girls, or whatever the case may be, that's getting all these larger funds, but they have to come to me to put together a program because you don't have it. So that's
Speaking of resources, speaking of resources, I think it would be amazing to see nonprofit organizations provide youth with mentoring. It's not monetary, but it is very important. I witnessed Bridge to Life, shout out to Bridge to Life the other day. Instead of a $25 Amazon gift card, they offered a mentoring session with a doctor to a student, to a potential medical professional.
That's good.
Just imagine the avenue that mentoring session will open for that youth and for other youth. I think that's an aspect that all nonprofit organizations should touch on because it is very, very important.
Sure, get back to it in a moment. Before I lose train of thought. Yes, so Allapattah is not a huge nonprofit, we're not, but we, as I mentioned earlier, and the heart, like the hustle is real. Like the hustle is real. Our executive director, Elysa, she hustles to look for the grants, hustles to make sure that we got the network going down. We partner up with great organizations like My Home's For All, shout out to our friends over there. And one of the things that we're starting is also to
help mentor and collaborate with other smaller nonprofits smaller than us in Allapattah to help them come up and either partner events, partner in writing grants. So it's okay, maybe we may be too small by ourselves, but if we come together for one grant, we'll actually qualify. And then we get that direct funding. And it's hard. But instead of us like, fighting for the grant separately, we like started to just, it's just us. We're in the community. And luckily, we're doing not exactly the same thing. We're targeting them youth. We're working with closely with the Center Foundation. But while we target young adults for the most part, they target early childhood. And so we're able to, go into projects and events and be more successful that way. So that's kind of the big things. Collaboration, just being open, instead of being siloed, because otherwise we don't get anything accomplished.
So something that I find interesting in my position as a co-facilitator for the YMAC, my mission these past 2 years is to promote nonprofits through social media, because you can't really expect a youth to know about resources they don't have access to know about said resources. And let's be honest, youth are not reading newspapers anymore. Actually, I don't think anybody is reading newspapers anymore. And a lot of it is through social media. And I'll sit through like commission meetings or spaces like this, and I'll hear someone say a nonprofit organization, I'll look them up in social media. I'm like, oh, they don't even have an Instagram. They don't have a Facebook, they don't have a Twitter. And and even their website is super outdated. So it's like, how do you expect for youth to insert themselves in getting resources if the information that is presented is, one, not digestible at all, or two, it's just not accessible, like in the sense of your phone number is like outdated, it doesn't even work anymore. Like if I have to call and it's like, this number is out of service, it's like, well, why did I waste my time and my calories calling y'all if y'all don't even work? But I will say this though, oh my God, I had a point in my brain, but it like left my cranium. No, it came back. I found it again. Something that is really hard for people like me in the sense of I don't fit in the conventional stereotypical career path, in the sense of I'm not pursuing the medical field or being a lawyer and engineer. I'm trying to be a creative director. And it's hard for me to look for scholarships and grants. It's usually towards those fields. And even then, looking for scholarships and grants is really hard. Like if it's almost in a sense of you have to find that sparkle of gold and have to catch it before someone else does. And it can be really, really discouraging because they have all these different qualifications. Like if I have a low GPA based off of my experiences, had nothing to do with me, I'm automatically out of the table of being selected. So it's like, there's so many different barriers. Like I understand that you have to have a certain GPA to receive certain things or even have certain credits, but it's like, we need to have more opportunities for people who haven't reached there yet, but are still building themselves up, because you can't help for your GPA being low because you were in an environment that didn't allow you to thrive, or you were in an environment where you didn't have access to internet, so you don't have a GPA. There's so many different things, like scholarships for the most part are usually for high school students. Yeah. But if you didn't graduate from high school and you have a GED, it's even harder for you to receive scholarships, but it's usually towards people that fall under the age bracket of 17 and 18. So we have to make it more accessible for people who are out of that age group and also out of that experience, because we don't talk about trade school when we talk to high school students. We just like, oh, if you don't get into college, you're not going to be successful. But some people don't thrive in college. Some people need to be in the workforce and learn through experience with trade school and different certifications. So you have to make it easier for people to succeed through different ways of climbing up the social ladder of success. So yeah, it's tough out here, y'all.
I have like a quick question for the people that have like nonprofits. Do you guys ask for like a social and application by any chance? You can't hear me? Can you hear me like just like this? Okay. Do you guys like ask for socials and the applications for your nonprofits or
And that's in reference to one of the things that we run into at Allapattah is that we have a big part of the community that might not have an immigration status. That they might have arrived legally, but they're in this stuck pattern. We have a lot of DACA students who don't know what their fate is going to be. And that has also been like a barrier for some to apply to programs like the Community Fellows Program or like our other program we just launched, which is Allapattah Startups. And so what we've done is like either try to put them together with local legal assistance or just, you know, I'm not saying don't ask, don't tell, but we try to give them the opportunities that they can so they can continue forward with their careers.
Speaking of careers and scholarships, I wanted to bring up a great organization out there, the Scholarship Plug. Ms. Shelly Cassia, she's doing an amazing job with that. But I feel like there are some amazing businesses, amazing organizations out there that could provide scholarships for the youth, and they have the means to do that. But we, the youth, have to be the advocate for that. We have to go to their businesses and ask for a business card. Hey, do you provide any scholarships? Have you ever thought about, providing scholarships, small to big, to the youth? And if they agree, and we can start building that committee or bring two people together that will help them or convince them maybe to get those things together, because believe me, I know they have the means to do that.
Just over here like, wow, we got to change. We really have to change a lot. Like when you just think about how many years, because those GPAs have been that way. I'm 45, I didn't get nothing. But I was smart, but I didn't get nothing. But it's funny because we're hearing the same thing over and over and over again. So I'm just hoping the information that all of us are obtaining in here today, we use plugs like FPP to get more information out to more nonprofits of the suggestion. If you give a scholarship, stop putting the freaking GPA on it and put something else, because you're right. I'm so happy you said that, because I have never thought about that. As many kids as I help and talk to, I've never thought about that as really being a barrier, because I'm assuming everybody should be able to do it, right? That's that adult privileged thought process, and I got a 21-year-old and he sure didn't do it, but but listen, he didn't even know about firefighters. Like going into the firefighter academy, listen, you will retire at 42 with free paid pension for the rest of your life. Like you work 3 days and they're looking for women, they're looking for African-American firefighter women, and they can't find them. So you're right, you have to start looking for things too, because I tell people, especially our youth, you all usually only aspire to be what you've heard. And you've got too much technology at your fingertips that you should be looking to be above what you've heard, because what you've heard is only as far as the person before you got to, right? So even careers like an actuary, you can get your degree in interdisciplinary studies. That was me. I still don't know what it really means, but the lady told me it's for somebody like you who wants to do a whole lot of things. You want to know about this, you want to study in this, we can't put you in one field. So I had psychology, I had criminal law, I had HR. I just was going all over the place because I didn't know what, but look into at least interdisciplinary programs. Go to the college. They have what they call it, what are the funds? Not advisors, it's funds that most people don't know to ask the College of Business itself. Institutional grants. Those are different than your regular scholarships, and you won't ever know to ask about it, because if you're not in a circle that knows to tell you, you're not gonna ask. And that's free money that those colleges have to just give out to people who need it. You don't even have to write you fill out an application, you just fill out a one-page thing, and they give you the money because they have to give it away. So these are just some tips, guys, that I think we have had some phenomenal people up here sharing their personal stories, being transparent. My only question to each and every one of you, what are you gonna do about it? What are we gonna do to fix the youth commitment in our community? So please take out your phones, let's network. We've got 5 more minutes. If anyone else wants to close and tell us a little bit, I'm gonna put you on my channel. No, for real. I love your confidence.
I wanted to say another thing. The age cutoff has been a very difficult barrier, especially for myself, aging out of foster care. Oh, at a certain age, you're out. You can still get help, but you're out. You can still call us, but you're out. We can still give you advice, but you're out. I think there should not be an age cutoff because some people at 25 don't have their life together. Some people at 26, 27, I have a 31-year-old sister with 8 kids and she don't have her life together. She still needs help. So I feel like the whole age cutoff, I don't know, is we need to go talk to the governor, the president. We need to go on the moon and screaming out loud. There should not be an age cutoff with a lot of programs. Also, I don't know if anybody has a program in here for mom with kids, but I know a lot of mom with kids. we love some of your help any day now. But I do think that the age cutoff has been a big barrier, a huge barrier.
With that, I will say, shout out for, come on. Yeah. I will say that we did come to, at Flight Center where we fill all the gaps, we did realize that that's an age barrier. So we are definitely trying to extend that and come up with different creative ways to solve that problem. We do have Broward Up, it's like a trade program tied to Broward College that assists youth get certification because college is not for everybody, and we recognize that. So there's those 6 to 8 week programs that they can go in and get certificates for that. Handy has a book scholarship. It ain't much, but if you fill that application out, the chances become very great that you're gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? So again, I think the collaboration is important. And if you wanna stop by the center, my name is Felicia, just ask for me. I'll come out and see you, I'll give you a tour. You know what I'm saying? And we could go into depths of everything that we do and tell you who our cousins are. Andy's our cousin.
And you know, you said go to the governor. This is not Comerica, this is Mo. We have to also, as nonprofits, start incorporating more activities for our youth to understand the political agenda that is at stake. We focusing so much on financial literacy and life skills, but guess what? If they don't know that the governor appoints the actual body for Florida Department of Education, whatever governor is elected is the person that usually appoints all of those people that make educational decisions, and our kids are not voting when they turn 18, or worse, they doing what I was always told. This is who you gonna vote for. Well, I started saying, well, how come I gotta vote for who you want me to vote for, Grandma? Like, well, you know, so we got to stop that pass down, and we've got to become more knowledgeable. It's hard to understand, but the politics of this is why money is not there. So the more you all advocate, y'all have to also advocate to understand how this economy really runs. We're done, Cornell. We're done. Y'all had a good time.